As you are living life which inspires within you a desire, and then you take the time to feel your way into vibrational alignment with your desire, only then will that desire be allowed by you into your experience. So once you've allowed it, then if you see others who have not yet figured out how to allow it, you may realize that you can help them by teaching through the clarity of your example that appreciation and feeling good is what puts you in the place of allowing good things to come to you. But if you should see them and then feel bad that they have not yet allowed it, now you have changed your energy, and now you are no longer a vibrational match to what you had allowed either. So feeling bad for others who have not figured it out only causes you to release it from your experience also. It also is a shortage orientation to say that person does not have something because I have it. In other words, there is not a finite amount of abundance, and if you receive it, you are depriving someone else of it. In fact, the opposite is true. When you let the contrast that everyone has surrounding them provide you with an idea of what you want, and then you line up with the idea so that you are in vibrational integrity with this idea or desire, now it must be realized by you. And that is such a wonderful example to offer for others.
What I've learned from all of this is, the biggest thing I'm learning is, seems like the intentions that we have, even when we're 1 year, 2 years, 3 and 4 years old, all get played out in the end as our life evolves. And they get played out in ways that we often don't understand. Unless you have a good memory of what you wanted when you were 3 or 4, you often don't remember that what you were asking for then you now have. And I've watched my life evolve to everything I've ever wanted is happening. You know, it has happened along the way, and it is happening. And I guess the reason I think it's important for people to know that, I really want people to know that there's nothing that they can't be or do or have, and that there's nothing they can't change to or from if they want to, and where there's no one's locked in anywhere. And also, those so-called dreams or daydreams you had when you were really little of the beautiful, wonderful things you wanted to be or do for the world and so on and so forth, they all come true. But they don't necessarily come true in the way you may have envisioned them. But if you look back, you'll say, oh, that's the essence of everything I ever wanted. It's here. Or everything I was ever afraid of, it's also here. Okay. Esther, how about you bringing Abraham in and let Abraham visit for a few minutes here?
Okay.
It just takes her a moment. Esther just kind of relaxes her mind, and actually you're going to see it. She just kind of relaxes, and nothing major happens. It's just she just allows this other energy more or less to move through her.
It is nice to have an opportunity to visit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it is the single most important thing that you consciously do, because the thought that you are thinking, a belief is just a thought you keep thinking, isn't it? So the thought that you are thinking is vibrational in nature and therefore attractive in nature. So if you have a habit of thought, a belief, which is therefore a dominant thought, which is therefore a big part of your vibrational offering, therefore it is a big part of your point of attraction. So when you care enough to take the time to change it from what you are terming negative to positive, you have shifted your point of attraction. Nothing is more important than understanding that. We would like to help you to remember that you are more than you see here in this physical body, and that larger part of you is always eternally offering a powerful vantage point and vibration. When you come forth into your physical body, a part of that consciousness flows into this personality that you know as you. So at all times when you are in your physical form, you have the potential of offering a thought that causes alignment with that broader part of you or not. And we would say the thoughts that you offer that are in vibrational harmony or alignment with that larger part of you would be that state of integrity that you are looking for, coming together with that broader part of me. It's also important to remember that that larger part of you, that eternal part of you, exists even while you are in your physical form. In other words, often people think, well, you are dead or alive, you are physical or non-physical, but you are eternally that non-physical source energy. And then you are sometimes this physical human energy. And those 2 points of vibrations, that eternal part that is pure positive energy, and that physical part that could be, as you say, negative or could be, as you say, positive at any moment, those vibrational vantage points are always playing off of one another. The better you feel, the more you are vibrationally in integrity to that which you are. Vibrational integrity is alignment with that which I am. So, reaching for good feeling thoughts is really the key to coming into alignment with that which you are. And we think that's the best description of integrity that could be. Your feelings are the way you quantify your journey from sickness to wellness. The way you feel is the way you quantify your journey from not enough money to enough money. You must have a way of understanding where you are in relationship to what you want. And because more than 99% of every creation is completed vibrationally before you see any physical evidence, you can't use the physical evidence to know. If you have an illness and you want to be well, you may have found many thoughts that have improved your point of attraction, and you may be vibrationally well along the way to your recovery. But because the physical manifestation has not yet shown itself, if you stop and take score of where you are physically, you may very well become upset because the tests do not give you the affirming confirmation that you are on your way to wellness. Where if you understand that your emotions are giving you that feedback, then even though the manifestation has not shown you your recovery, the fact that you feel so much better is your indication that you are moving in the right direction. And if you continue to move in the right direction, your recovery must be. As Jerry and Esther travel from Phoenix to San Diego, they never get out there in the desert halfway and become so frustrated that they are not yet in San Diego that they become disoriented and turn around and go back to Phoenix. It would be a very long journey, wouldn't it? Phoenix, Yuma, Phoenix, Yuma, Phoenix, Yuma. And the reason that doesn't happen is because they understand where they are in relationship to where they want to be. Your emotions are the only way you can accurately understand where you are in relationship to where you want to be. Once you get that down, and you do as Joseph Campbell said, you learn to follow your bliss, now you always have guidance, you see. You are eternal beings, and your journey never ends. And you've deliberately come forth into this physical time-space reality because you understood that the contrast would inspire you to new ideas. And you knew that the new ideas would cause an eternal journey to unfold. You didn't say, I will find an idea and I will go to it and complete it and be done. You said, I will put myself in a position where my life inspires continuing new ideas so that my journey eternally continues. So your journey really is of your creation. But of course you had clear intentions when you came forth into this physical body. You intended for this journey to be satisfying and exhilarating and fun. You intended for it to be uplifting for you and for others, but you never planned to get it done. We like to say to our physical friends, when you plan a vacation, you know that you are at home, you begin, and you will go to this city and this city and this city and this city, and eventually you come back round to home again. And you never say, oh, look, my final destination is home, and I'm already there, so why go? I've already completed this vacation. I will check it off my list. And the reason you don't say that is because you don't take your vacation to get it done. You take it for the fun along the way, for the uplifting things that occur, for the people that you interact with, for the stimulation of thought. You take your vacation for the joy of the journey, you see. And that really is what you intended as you came forth into this experience, to be stimulated by variety to ideas of the kind of things you would like. But it isn't the destination that is what it is all about. The destination is just the reason for the journey. The journey is what life is, you see. Affirmations and visualizations are a wonderful part of the creative process. We like to describe the creative process as a 3-step process. And most people don't initially see it quite this way. But once you get a sense of this, your creations come into place often much more quickly. Step 1 is where you ask for what you want. It's where the contrast helps you to define what it is you want. And of course, you always know more clearly what you do want when you are aware of what you don't want. So the variety is very helpful. In that contrasting experience, these rockets of desires literally shoot forth from you. Step 2 is Source answers your request. So step 1 happens without you needing to worry about it or work on it, because life just provides enough variety that desires are naturally born from you. And Source follows that rocket of desire and literally becomes it. In other words, we've written a book called Ask and It Is Given, and we think it is the best title that ever could be given to a book because it speaks of the whole process within the title. When life causes you to ask, it is given. But what happens is you're asking often from your place of knowing more clearly what you don't want. So even though Source knows what you want and becomes a vibrational match to it and calls you incessantly toward it, if you are not a vibrational match to what you are asking for, you can't let it in. You don't allow it, you see. So step 3 of the process is you must be a vibrational match to your desire. In simpler terms, you can't feel the need for money and the discomfort of lack of money and let the money in. It's a different vibration. If you feel poor, you can't become prosperous even though you're asking for prosperity and even though Source has lined it up for you. You have to be a vibrational match to what you're asking for. And that's why it is so important that you pay attention to the way you feel and you keep reaching for improved feelings of relief so that you can, by reaching for better feelings, coach yourself into vibrational alignment with the very things that you are asking for. So, affirmations or visualizations are really the way that you apply step 3. Most people think that they are step 1. They think that the affirmation or the visualization is how I ask the universe for what I want. But you've already asked the universe for what you want through the living of life, through the feeling of contrast, through the launching of the rockets of desires. And Source has already answered what you want. The solutions to your problems have already been given. The answers to your questions have already been given. But you must find a way to make yourself to them. And so when you speak an affirmation, when you say, it is my desire to achieve this, and I see myself already having achieved it, even though at first when you speak the affirmation you may not believe it, in time, as you speak it, you come into the allowing of it. And of course there are many people speaking affirmations who are not receiving what they are speaking because they're using words and wanting the words to make it so. But the universe does not respond to your words. The universe responds to your vibration. And your emotions indicate what your vibration is. So if we were standing in your physical shoes, we would use affirmations to talk ourselves into better and better and better feeling places. So you're using your affirmations just to call you a little bit further from where you are to where you want to be, building your own bridges, so to speak. Creation is such a wonderful thing, and being a deliberate creator is just as good as it gets. Of course, everyone is thinking and therefore offering vibration and therefore attracting. But many people are offering most of their vibration in response to what they're observing. So as they observe what is, they get more of it. As you decide that you want to be a deliberate creator, you begin to more deliberately think about what you want and why you want it. And it's interesting that you can only think about what you want from where you currently stand. That's why you are an eternal creator. So from where you stand, the contrast provides clarity about what you think you want from where you now stand. So you set forth your intentions from where you stand. It's all you can do. But then you stand in a new place. The most wonderful thing about this journey of creation is that as you want something that you don't have, and then you think about it and you speak about it and you visualize around it and you find the feeling place of it until you become a vibrational match to it, then you receive it. And along with that manifestation comes a whole nother set of variety that of course causes you to now know more clearly from where you stand what you now want. And so no one can ever stand in one place and figure out what they're going to want forevermore. It is a constant amending process. So what you do is you appreciate what is right now, while from your now perspective, you continue to amend your decisions about what you now want. And this prolific universe, this abundant universe, you have at your fingertips the energy that creates worlds. There is nothing that you cannot be or do or have. But you can never figure out what you will always be or always have or always do from any one place. It will constantly evolve. That's why this journey is so delicious. As you are living life which inspires within you a desire, and then you take the time to feel your way into vibrational alignment with your desire, only then will that desire be allowed by you into your experience. So once you've allowed it, then if you see others who have not yet figured out how to allow it, you may realize that you can help them by teaching through the clarity of your example that appreciation and feeling good is what puts you in the place of allowing good things to come to you. But if you should see them and then feel bad that they have not yet allowed it, now you have changed your energy and now you are no longer a vibrational match to what you had allowed either. So feeling bad for others who have not figured it out only causes you to release it from your experience also. It also is a shortage orientation to say, that person does not have something because I have it. In other words, there is not a finite amount of abundance, and if you receive it, you are depriving someone else of it. In fact, the opposite is true. When you let the contrast that everyone has surrounding them provide you with an idea of what you want, and then you line up with the idea so that you are in vibrational integrity with this idea or desire, now it must be realized by you. And that is such a wonderful example to offer for others. But if you believe that there is only so much to go around, and you are getting it, first of all, you could not let yourself receive it under those conditions, you see. You must know that there is enough for everyone, and those who are not allowing it into their experience are not being deprived of it because someone else did allow it into their experience. You would never say, I have been well for the last 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 or 70 years, and I am so well, and those people over there are sick. I think I will be sick for a few years to allow some of those sick people to be well. You don't look at it that way because you know you're not using up the wellness and depriving them of it, and you are not using up the abundance and depriving them of that either. A car that's going 100 miles an hour and hits a tree, it's a bigger problem than a car that's going 5 miles an hour and hits a tree. So what happens in this analogy? What we are saying to you is your desires are what equal the speed or the momentum of this journey. And the tree in this analogy is like the resistance that shows up. Many people believe that when they start bumping up against those obstacles, that they should pull back on their desire. But we want you to understand that you cannot pull back on your desire. You can't slow that down. You can't become less than life has caused you to become. So the work must be releasing the resistance. So it's a wonderful thing when you bump up against something that feels uncomfortable, because it's this opportunity to now feel the discomfort of it and work it into a place of greater comfort. That's how you get rid of those obstacles. That's how you let yourself flow in the way that you want to, you see.
You suggest pushing through obstacles?
We suggest relaxing when you bump up against an obstacle and reaching for a feeling of relief. And reaching for a feeling of relief is not exactly pushing through the obstacle. It's causing the obstacle to morph. It causes the obstacle to reduce. The source energy within you, the being that you truly are, this expanding, evolving being, adores you. And when you find fault with yourself, you create resistance. The source within you, who you really are, loves others. When you find something within them that causes you to hate them or to not love them, you create resistance. So when you are looking for reasons to appreciate or looking for reasons to love, you're actually coming into alignment with who you really are. And you will never be joyful in any moment. You will never feel good in any moment. You will never fulfill your reason for being in any moment. You will never be who you really are unless you are in that state of love. Loving is who you are, you see. Anything less is resistance to who you are. Sometimes, especially when you are little, someone who appreciates you holds you as their object of attention. And when they do, it feels so good because they're tapped into source energy, they're holding you as their object of attention, and they're flooding that wonderful feeling all over you. So then you say, oh, this feels so good. And then you say, I would like you to hold me as your object of attention a lot. And I will do whatever it takes so that you will feel this way about me. But of course, as that little person, you didn't realize that, first of all, they cannot hold you as their constant object of attention, and it's asking a lot to ask them to always be connected to Source when they do it. They might be having a bad moment, and when they hold you as their object of attention when they're having a bad moment, you don't feel their love flooding all over you because they're not connected to it and they're not flooding it all over you. So over this process of looking to other people to find out how you feel about yourself, many times you come around to not feeling very good about yourself because you've been looking for love in all the wrong places. You've been looking to them to love you when sometimes they don't have it to give. They want to love you, but they're having a hard day. You can't jump from the vibration of not liking yourself to the vibration of loving yourself all at once, any more than you can set your radio dial on 6:30 a.m. and hear what's being broadcast from 98.7 FM. The frequencies don't match up. So we would say that the best way to come from loathing oneself, we're going to take an extreme, to loving oneself, is to find relief from the loathing, because loving is too big of a jump. So we would begin looking for things that aren't so bad about ourselves. I don't loathe this about myself. I don't loathe that. I don't actually hate that about me. I do pretty good about that. In other words, we would reach for the best feeling that we could find until we found a feeling of, I'm hoping one day to really like myself. I'm hoping one day to know myself as others seem to say that I am. I'm hoping one day to come into vibrational alignment with who I really am. Once you reach the place of hoping to like yourself, it's pretty easy to get over there by looking for things to appreciate. So we've noticed that most people who have practiced not liking themselves very much for a long time can find an easier way of loving themselves as they just begin practicing loving and appreciating things that are easy for them to love and appreciate. And once they get in the habit of doing that, then it's easier to turn that lens on themselves. And sometimes it's a little shocking when you've practiced not loving yourself for a while. But when you've practiced loving a whole lot of other things, and then you try to love yourself a little bit, you can. The contrast that you so often think you would like to do without is so necessary for the expansion of the idea and for the further becoming of that which is you. And what makes human experience uncomfortable is that the contrast causes you to expand. The larger part of you takes the expansion, but you don't keep up with it because you keep beating the drum of the contrast. In other words, let's say life causes you to know that you don't want to be sick. In other words, something happens and you are sick. In your sickness, you radiate rockets of desires for more wellness, and the non-physical part of you now becomes more well than you have ever been. But if you keep beating the drum of I don't feel good or I am declining, then even though your potential for wellness is now greater than it has ever been, as you keep focusing upon the illness and using it as your justification for why you want to be well, you hold yourself apart from the very thing that life has caused you to expand toward, you see. Let's say that you don't have enough money, and in the discomfort of not having enough money, you ask for more money. Even if you do not offer words about it, you are vibrationally asking. You cannot know what you do not want without knowing what you do want. The source energy part of you embraces that knowing of what you do want and becomes it completely. But if you keep beating the drum of not having enough money, complaining about not having enough money, irritated with those who seem to have plenty of money, then you hold yourself in vibrational discord not only with the money, you hold yourself in vibrational discord to the expanded part of you who is living that greater prosperity, you see. It's the separation between you and you that causes your discord, not what anyone else is doing. Words really don't teach. Life experience is the true teacher, and so you teach through the clarity of your own example. Offer your evidence of joy. Look for reasons to feel good and then feel good. Don't pretend that you feel good when you don't. Look for reasons to feel good and feel good. And when you don't feel good, don't pretend that you do. Instead, make it clear to anyone who's asking, I'm not feeling very good and I know what to do about it. I'm going to reach for better feeling thoughts until I do feel good. In other words, be real. Being real is the best way to teach. Being real and being in earnest about feeling good. Being determined to come into alignment with who you are. Make a decision that you want to express as often as you can the wholeness of who you are to whoever you are interacting with, which means get tuned in, tapped in, turned on. Bring yourself into alignment and then play with people. Don't move into a meeting if you're not in alignment. Get into alignment and then move into a meeting. Don't have an argument and then try to make it better within the argument. Get off to yourself and get feeling better. Tune in to who you are. And then in your state of alignment, co-create with others. If you are looking for a way to tune in to the vibration of who you really are, meditation is a wonderful way of going about it, because when you quiet your mind, you release thoughts, and when you release thoughts, you release resistance. Appreciation is a wonderful way to come into alignment, because when you are looking for something to appreciate, you are deliberately trying to see it through the eyes of that which you truly are. When you get out into nature, it serves you in a similar way, because in nature there is no resistance. In other words, that plant that you are beholding is in alignment with the vibrational nature of its being. It's not thinking thoughts that have it out of alignment. The beasts of the wild are, for the most part, in alignment with who they are. Your domesticated beasts in time to begin to act a little bit like you do. But when you get out into nature, in your observation of it, you are observing alignment. That's why it feels good.
I was in a motel in Montana. I was doing concerts out there, and there on a coffee table in the motel, a little motel, was a book. It said "Think and Grow Rich." It was Napoleon Hill. It was Napoleon Hill's book, "Think and Grow Rich," and I looked at that. And I picked it up, and I was like, hair stood up all over my body. I'd never read anything like that. A few pages in it, and I asked the motel owner. I said, "Can I take this back to my room and read it?" He said, "You can have it." He says, "I'm not interested in it." And then after I read that book, I thought these wonderful principles of success. And I asked Abraham later, after they came, I said, "What was it about that book that turned my life around?" I thought it was the principles of what he was teaching of how to become successful. And Abraham says, what it was is his principles made you believe you could do it. And all it changed in you wasn't the processes that you learned from the book, but the fact that you believed now that you could succeed at making money.